Welcome to the bold analysis. Dennis Itumbi should stop it. Dennis Itumbi, stop it. What the country needs is an explanation. And if you followed my video yesterday, I said that immediately Raila released dossier, what you are going to expect is political propaganda. And when you see Dennis Itumbi being asked to run a political propaganda, then it is very true that government is acting in panic. He has published this post today. A push to pay exaggerated compensation to a company, to a family company, a bill from handshake, days and a better contradicting everything he said yesterday by his own company. His press conference was merely aimed at pushing for exaggerated pay and that shall not be paid. So, what does the issue of paying comes in? Then he shared that list. A former PM Raila Odinga family has an interest in the oil business. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this podcast. And today I'm going to walk you through the reaction by Kenya Kwanza and why at the regional level the politics of the North and the Central Corridor is actually boiling. This is one that you should not miss. And let me say this. The burden of proof rests with Kenya Kwanza.
We can confidently tell them all the documentation is public. All the agreements are public. And I can say without fear of any contradiction that this whole exercise, before even I took the oath of office, the leadership of all oil marketers came to see me, and they were stranded, looking for dollars from corner to corner. In fact, there was stock out in many parts of Kenya. I can confirm to the country that the G2G petroleum products engagement with our international oil companies is above board, is transparent, is innovative, and it has made the biggest difference in our country. If we hadn't been innovative, we would have driven the country in the direction that was going then, of more subsidies, greater debt, more confusion, and the whole of that space. Let me say this for the record, confidently for the record, that the purpose of the G2G agreement, the government to government, and I have talked to MBS and MBZ, the two leaders of UAE and Saudi, and they have gone out of their way to support our country. The purpose of government in that agreement, in that MOU, is not so that we sell oil products. And it is not for me to say it is working or not. I want to challenge the speculators and the agents of the cartels to go and speak to the oil marketing companies in Kenya, to go and speak to the players in Kenya, instead of the speculation, rumor mongering, scamming.
The three questions that Raila Odinga asked about the oil, these three questions were: number one, give us what is G2G, because did government just get into a contract with some private companies? Number two, are three, Oryx, Galana, and Gulf, not paying taxes, the corporate tax? That is the second question. The third question here is, why is the price of fuel high in Kenya when the global prices decreased? These questions cannot be answered by political propaganda. But, and I want to tell you that the level of the propaganda machinery is really worrying. Yesterday, or rather today, there was a presser by Kimani Ichung'wah, and it's just the political rhetoric.
Kenyans will remember the weekend, the statements delivered by senior members of the Azimio coalition, culminating to the statements made by Mr. Odinga himself and another group of Azimio leaders yesterday somewhere in Westlands. And the so-called dossier, which we are saying is nothing but political hogwash, is a well-choreographed campaign to try and incite Kenyans against the current administration, to try and incite Kenyans around the question of the cost of living, because, and you know where I sit with our colleagues in Azimio in the National Dialogue Committee, and you know that is a matter that has been on the table, and they probably think they can now use the masses to arm twist the Kenya Kwanza government to reintroduce fuel and food subsidies that were fueling and driving corruption that was benefiting those who were in power then. And because some of them had planned and knew the plans they had to perpetuate that culture of subsidies, especially around fuel, they imagined that they can use either the dialogue process or the hogwash that we have seen being billed as dossiers to blackmail government to institute or to carry on with the state capture charade of subsidizing fuel. Kenyans were said to have gone to the streets, as they have always said, on the basis of the cost of living. But we also know it's not true. They mobilized their supporters to go to the streets on account of what they billed was a stolen election. When that did not sell, they billed it as a fight for the cost of living, and you remember what they called the Sufuria movement, putting sufurias on their heads.
Kimani Ichung'wah is the majority leader in the National Assembly. His agenda is he works in the legislature. The questions that have been asked touches on the Ministry of Energy and the Executive Office of the President. That's it. And maybe other state corporations, Competition Authority of Kenya, and the others. So that press briefing and that statement about what it is actually diversionary. I have been waiting and I've been listening to any Kenya Kwanza leader who is going to give a feedback, is going to answer even a single question about it. 3 companies are private companies, they're not government companies. The 3 oil companies here. Then the other 3 from Saudi Arabia. Where is G2G if the companies is just on their own? So Raila maintained that the oil deal is a commercial transaction between 2 private corporates facilitated by Kenyan government. The level of political propaganda wheeled on this dossier is very suspect. And I listened to Kimani Ngunjiri. I don't take him serious, but I know that he's a Rigathi access. Why did I learn that? He's on record saying that himself, with Dedi Nyoro and Rigathi's wife, begged William Ruto to pick Rigathi Gachagua as the deputy president. And in this, he seems to be speaking about the nitty-gritties, or rather, running a political propaganda on Raila Odinga. Something that we said yesterday. It's not about Raila.
Ile deni iko. It's not the president who is current gave those contracts. You gave this contract, you people in the handshake, and you took 10% and what you wanted. Why did you give contract without knowing very well you don't have money to pay? If you are saying that you can be a good leader, why did you not advise the person you are with? Kumwambia what you are supposed to do in this country. And I also urge my president, let's not give the contract if you don't have the money. If you don't have the money of the contract, don't reward anybody contract. Because those are the things which have made us fail. And now you come here and start telling us now, memaliza mambo ya bombers, now you want another one. Next week you change the goal, you want ABCD. Please, don't corner the people and bring people the confusion. Just go slowly. If there's a percent which was remaining, which maybe you got from outside and maybe the rest have not been taken there, wewe fanya mpango pole pole, enda angalia the balance kama kuna kitu kama hiyo ilikuwa sijui, then tuone kama utashiba kidogo, afadhali uache nchi yetu ya Kenya iendelee kwa mpango mzuri. We need peace. Mambo ya incitement ya ukabila kwa ukabila. Mjue mnaona nchi za nje vile vita imechacha kwa sababu ya ukabila. Tuvumilie, tuwe na amani. Na tuweke amani sana. We don't want anybody to die in this country. Ati kwa sababu ya siasa. Kwa sababu ya wachache.
The former Bahati MP should be reminded, this is not about Raila. This is about the cost of fuel. And you can see tapa. People have been tampering, just trying to move up and down. In this podcast, let's look at why the diversions. And there are two things. There are diversions and suppressions. And these diversions are coming at a time when the burden of proof rests with Kenya Kwanza. Raila Odinga is not in government. Raila Odinga does not own any, out of these three companies that have been given, I'm not seeing his stake there. So, Raila Odinga is not the person to prove that what he's saying is right or wrong. The burden of proof is with the government. And this propaganda war, Ruto team cannot win. Why? This is not the first time Raila is doing a dossier. He made a dossier on Eurobond. It later came to be true. He did a dossier on Uhuru Margaret Sargasian during Kibaki era. It came to be true. He released the statement on NYS. The suspects were charged. And Kenyan government lost close to 791 million from such a suspect deal. So you cannot win a propaganda narrative around this. Do you know that that Anjeri with the oil story was supposed to appear, is supposed to appear in parliament, in a parliamentary committee, but there have been an attempt to stop her appearance there. So Kenya Kwanza resorted to two ways. One is running political propaganda to demystify the doubt on G2G. Number two is to link this dossier to Raila Odinga's political escapades and try to project as if Raila is just trying to confront William Ruto. Number three is an attempt to casually respond, casual response. And number three, the other response they have taken is to silence. The institutions that are supposed to respond are silent. KRA are supposed to tell us, did these people not pay corporate taxes? Those are the questions we need. Kenya Pipeline is supposed to give us a response. EACC is supposed to launch an investigation into this. But even as we speak, no one is talking. Now, I want you to get this other part of this analysis. The man of the moment was Chirchir. So Davis Chirchir, the Ministry of Energy, responded, and they're saying the deal was above board. Here we keep it factual. The deal was above board. Number two, they're saying the Northern Corridor is not competitive. There is something Raila said about Kenya losing business to Uganda. I think I wanted to get it. This is what he meant. And I just want to show you what they are talking about. Look at this first. Look at this map. If you look at this map, that map is depicts the northern corridor. So if you just Google what exactly is this northern and southern corridor, I actually got this. That a major meeting is currently going on in Addis Ababa on regional transport and infrastructure. This map presented by Tanzania, depicting the plan using the central corridor to integrate the region. Now you can see Kenya is black there. Kenya is shaded black because it's not part of the central corridor. So the central corridor, if you look at this map, there's something I need to tell you. The yellow lines are highways, while the green lines are just railways. The central corridor is the Dar es Salaam side, the Tanzania side, connecting Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, and DR Congo. And Tanzania have finished construction of the 90-kilometer SGR. Now that is the central corridor. So I want to demystify, debunk the fact that northern corridor, that the northern corridor is still competitive. It's competitive on distance, but if people calculate the cost of transporting it by buying it from the middleman and realize it's more expensive, it's not going to be competitive. If you look at the northern corridor is the Kenyan route that is supposed to connect Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, DR Congo, and Sudan. Now, all the other countries except Sudan can benefit from central corridor. What do this mean? That Kenya will only remain with one country, that is Sudan, to serve in the northern corridor. The only country that cannot use the southern corridor, the central corridor, is South Sudan. So if you're not careful, if we handle this casually, and that central corridor works, then it means we'll only remain one business partner, that is Sudan. And remember, Uganda is Kenya's largest trading partner. So you will realize, and what I'm simply realizing it there, is that it's not true that that the northern corridor is not competitive. Let me give you two instances. Do you remember Uhuru Kenyatta giving some land to Museveni in Naivasha to make that dry container depot? Why? He wanted to please Uganda, and many people saw it as because he has business investments in Uganda. But because Uganda is the northern, they wanted to make sure that Uganda uses the northern corridor, which is the Kenyan route. Now, even recently, Kenya Kwanza have been went to China. They're looking for some loan to extend the SGR to Uganda. Why? To make sure that they maximize on competitiveness of the northern corridor. You may need to understand these corridors. I need to explain. The northern corridor is the Kenyan route. Mombasa, Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, DRC Congo, Sudan, Burundi, Rwanda. The central corridor is the entry port of Dar es Salaam, the Mombasa, the Tanzania. So it uses Tanzania, Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, and DR Congo. So we are not going to be competitive. I also got some information that Tanzania is also establishing their auction house in Dar es Salaam. Remember, they have been moving for auctions in Mombasa. So they are shifting back to Dar es Salaam. That means Kenya is also going to lose some business on the other end. I still repeat, we don't need to be casual in these matters. Now, why has Kenya diverted, or rather, why is Kenya Kwanza employing diversionary tactics to suppress Raila questions? That's what I want to answer. And I want you to make sure you watch this video to the end, because that's a very important part. Something that is giving William Ruto headache is the regional effect. Across the decade, from both Kibaki era to Uhuru era, we've had these challenges. But we've never had a problem with Uganda in terms of the business interests. So that regional problem is a big headache because it's denying us business and denying the country foreign direct investment, which is coming through the Uganda effect. So that regional effect is also giving us, is also a shot on our foot because we are trying to establish Kenya and by like Nairobi as the regional hub for investment.
As ships accumulate extra charges on the high seas, the money sits in an escrow account in a local bank where it earns interest. It remains unclear who the beneficiaries of the accrued interest is. This deal has led to high cost of oil products sourced through the Northern Corridor transit route, that's Kenya route. The freight and premium rates for the May 2023 cargoes were higher in the Northern Corridor by 61% compared to the Central Corridor. Northern Corridor is the running Mombasa, Nairobi, Malaba, Kampala, and to DRC. The Central Corridor, the one that comes from Dar es Salaam all the way to Rwanda, Uganda, and DRC. That rise in freight and premium is reflected at the pump. That is what has pushed Uganda and other forward markets like South Sudan, Eastern DRC, Rwanda, and Burundi to consider importing goods through the Central Corridor or Tanzania route. Uganda is shifting to the Central Corridor, meaning that they are going to be using the port of Dar es Salaam or Tanga rather than Mombasa. The volume it ferries via Kenya pipeline has dropped by 52% from 70%. So other than making petroleum products ever more costly, the deal is going to kill the Kenya Pipeline Company as soon as this year.
That's why we ask, if Raila is wrong, if Raila is playing politics with the dossier, now is Uganda also playing politics when they decided that they don't want to use the Northern Corridor? Ichungwa and the team, but they give us this answer. If Raila is playing politics of publicity, then is Uganda also playing politics of publicity? The regional effect is why I know William Ruto will even want to go and talk to Museveni behind the scene. Now, in the near future, you'll see maybe here a delegation has been dispatched to Uganda to talk to Museveni about this. And it's because of that regional effect. Number two, there is the potential of Raila rebound if the story escalates. You know, Raila gave a dossier. So the government still, from that dossier, and I said yesterday that he has mentioned Uganda, he has mentioned the tax guys, he has mentioned the Kenya pipeline, he has mentioned government officials. So even Ruto, while you do a critical analysis of that dossier, you understand that Raila is speaking from a point of knowledge and that is being fed with something. So government doesn't know. If we rush and start attacking and giving a rebound on this, do Raila have another dossier? Is just that the start? That is the other question that is troubling. That's why they want diversion. Number three, Kenya Kwanza wants to reduce the burden of proof. The burden of proof is this. It is government to do investigation and clarify what Raila is saying. Is it right or wrong? If those documents that Raila were asking, it is the government to provide those documents. Number three, the burden of proof is Kenya Kwanza must explain to the public, they defend by evidence that it is not injustice that our fuel is higher than the region fuel, the fuel in the region. That is, and I still insist, that proof, the burden of proof, rests with Kenya Kwanza. Number three, Ruto deal has failed, and he's not keeping quiet for the first time. I think since September, Ruto has never commented about the issues of fuel. You may do your research, you'll find out. He has never commented about the issues of fuel. And the reason being, the truth of the matter is that G2G might have just collapsed. It has not achieved its target. Ruto feels a bit aggrieved with it, but because he has to put a brave face, himself, he was out defending it. I insist, Dennis Itumbi, Ishungwa, and who, we don't want to hear. Don't give us the stories of Raila just gave the statement. Answer the questions. We will not get tired of reminding Kenya Kwanza that they owe the public an explanation. Don't twist. There are two things. You either explain what exactly is going on, but then Raila is running a propaganda, or you correct them, and the next month we find the good prices at the pump. It's that simple. I don't know what you think, guys. If you're coming to Nairobi and you're looking for a place, you're looking to move your stuff from one place to the other, you need to consider working with top-mark movers. Top-mark movers. And they're the best professional. They'll ensure safety, and even their rates are affordable within Nairobi and outside Nairobi. So contact them there, www.topmarkmovers.com, or you can still contact them 0719 17 43 93. Top Mark Movers, quality is everything.